Hello, everybody. This is Elam B. King, and I want to thank you guys so much for listening in for the Understanding a Man podcast. I have the episode for you from a good friend of mine, Miss Zuleika Prince. She is a clinical therapist located here in Atlanta, Georgia, and so she's going to be speaking from not only a professional perspective, but then also from a personal perspective as well. So super excited about what's about to happen. So a couple of weeks ago, I put up a post regarding my upcoming game, Are We Ready Yet Game.com. And so this is, you see this right here, all right, those of you who are looking, this is the game called Are We Ready At Game.com. And so what it is 100 questions, all right? And this is a game that you can play with you and your significant other. You can also play it with inside of a group setting. And so we were just trying to share some of the questions that were on there. And one of the questions was, what are two things that you need me to know before we get married? And a good friend of mine, Miss Zuleika Prince, she's also a clinical therapist. And so she answered the question in a manner that resonated with a lot of young women in particular. And so it was regarding Miss Independent and you giving that space for those women who might not carry the attributes of what Miss Independent might be, but giving that space to allow them to transition and be in an independent communication and understanding a relationship with a significant other. And so that resonated with the most hits that I've had. It was about 360,000 people viewed it, shared by about, I don't know, 10,000 people, something like that. I don't even care. But it made me think about, how can we unpack that just a little bit more? And so I had a chance to dive into conversation with Miss Prince. And so it is an amazing conversation. And guess what? We dove in so fast, I ain't even have an intro. So I wanted to kind of give everybody a preface of what it is. But you know what? Let's pause for a second. Let's listen in to what was the conversation. What are two things you need me to know before we get married?
That though I'm independent, an independent woman, I still like my man to take care of me.
Okay, all right.
And so
Okay.
making space for that, because I've been in relationships before, but because I am so independent that I had to do everything.
Okay.
And I don't want to have to do everything.
Okay, I got you.
Take care of your woman. And
so what we want to do now is we want to just dig in a little bit deeper and unpack and kind of talk to the mentality of what some might have as Miss Independent and see how we can navigate through these waters and have some additional tools for a lasting relationship. Stay tuned. Well, what we're doing is kind of like an extended conversation from that question from before. Really wanting to my goal is to kind of unpack, helping us to understand more in depth about what you were saying about, Miss Independent or whatever. I'm kind of like having a conversation with Miss Independent, but she's not Miss Independent, but you can understand it. Because that was the highest grossing Instagram for me. And it's like so many women, I think that they resonated with it. So I know that clip was really on like a minute, 2 minutes or whatever. But I want to share that Miss Independent really is something that when men are hearing, that's kind of like, and it's not that your greatness is something that would make us feel insecure. It's not that you're, you shaking and moving, go be great. I think that sometimes there might be a mentality that comes behind that or energy that comes behind it that can negatively impact in a relation, in an intimate relationship. So, and you answered it so perfectly and so organically, but I wanted to kind of unpack it just a little bit more, or like your journey in like just being a better person inside of that space. Does that make sense?
Okay, so let me kind of just roll with it.
Yeah.
The Miss Independent, I wouldn't have classified myself as that ever.
Right.
When I made the statement, I'm an independent woman, that just meant for me that I am capable of taking care of myself financially. That's not what I need a man for in that space in my life.
Right.
I appreciate that if a man wants to help take care of me financially, but that was all that I was meaning. And for me, that's never been one of those things where I'm like, I don't need no man because I'm just so independent. That's never been me.
And see, that's the energy that normally comes across from Miss Independent. So no, definitely wasn't trying to call you that.
Yeah.
But it was like, I think for the moment, the speaking was along the lines that I could see Miss Independent could understand or resonate with. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah.
And so, so were you able to unpack the rest of how you felt with that? Because I want to make sure that you get that part out.
I just know that reading some of the comments that I feel like that men probably took it for what you said, perhaps, that, how can you be independent but want your man to take care of you? It wasn't about taking care of me financially. And it's really about a dependence on one another.
Right.
It's like we both work with one another to get the love and the care that we need.
Right.
Because, again, I can take care of the household financially. So that's not an issue for me.
Right.
And the man don't have to make as much money as me. None of that stuff really matters to me.
Okay.
It's about the quality of our relationship.
Okay.
How much does he pour into me emotionally?
Okay.
Is he supportive?
Okay.
Does he have my back? Because that's what I have. You know, I'm willing to do anything.
Right.
To me, about a relationship is about, it's a dance.
It is.
That we both do, and we both have to work at that dance and own those things that may be those hindrances. I can say that there have been times in relationship where I kind of have slid into that role of doing everything, kind of just because the gap was there and it wasn't being filled. And so I just naturally, because I am independent and have always been as far back as I can think, got married young. So moved into that space very early in life, and always just have been that kind of take charge kind of person. If somebody's dropping the ball on something, if I ask you about it one time,
jump in, teammate. Come on.
I just do it.
Right.
And it's not even any, big issue in the sense, but what has happened oftentimes, and probably not just in my relationship, is that the man has become comfortable with you doing everything. And
you spoiled them.
Basically, he became accustomed to that. And so then you found yourself doing everything.
Right.
And so as I've moved along in life and relationship, it's become one of those things where I allow that man that space rather than just doing it myself. Allow him the space to be the man if that's the kind of man he chooses to be. Okay. And in truth, that's the kind of man that I would desire. One that is going to take care of me in that way, but he knows that I got it if he ain't home or he's not, if he's away.
And so has that been, and gosh, I gotta come back to this one question that was on social media yesterday, but I'm coming back to that in a second. Has that been a journey for you to whereas you weren't like that before? Maybe that same strength that you had to exude to close the gap, as you said, if you will, that you being there, always being that person to have to do that. And then when you meet or in a relationship, has that been a struggle there sometimes to kind of turn it off?
It's not, I would say it hasn't been a struggle. It had to become something that I was intentionally doing. Okay. So if you want things to be different in any aspect of your life, you have to do things differently. You have to have different conversations right from the beginning. Oftentimes we just get in a relationship, we really don't have those kind of conversations that we need to have in order to have the kind of relationship that we want. We sometimes think that, this person should figure it out. They just know, they should know. Like somebody can read our mind, but if you never, unexpressed expectations lead to disappointment.
Oof, that's a little nugget right there. I like to say Blue's Clues only works in Nickelodeon. It does not work in relationships. No, people really think, because it's interesting how you say that, people think to just sit on down and figure that out because that's what a relationship is all about, and it's not. And I think that, but you allowing that, and it sounds like you being honest with yourself first to say, you know what, I need to allow some space over here to grow. And that's how you like put that comment the first time you made it, of letting that person, having that conversation, if you were asking the tough questions or stating, hey, this is who I am, this is what I'm navigating through. I think a lot of times people don't have that. Right. So it's refreshing to hear somebody say that, because it's not something. And so let's talk about, I want to shift to something I saw yesterday. So somebody posted, okay, so, boyfriend, girlfriend, and so we boyfriend, girlfriend, right? You need $1,500 for your car. Okay. I don't have it. Okay. And so but your ex-boyfriend does have it.
Why would I even know that my ex-boyfriend has it?
Before I even, but let me tell you something. The comments that were on there said, well, he ain't got it, so she should be able to get it from him. I'm kind of like,
why am I still talking to my ex-boyfriend?
Yeah, let's go all the way there.
Like, along those lines.
Let's go there.
I'm just saying.
But with respect, sometimes you do have exes that are just cool like that. I'm cool with a couple of exes or whatever.
But we're not talking about that. I need $1,500 for my car.
Right, but
and my boo can't give it to me.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
No. But let's just say he couldn't provide it. Just lost his job, whatever.
Okay.
1,000 different things that could have happened. So he doesn't have it, right?
Okay.
And so people were just like, okay, well, she needs it, and the ex-boyfriend's willing to offer it, so she should be able to get it from him. And people were like really kind of fighting me with that. Some women were, and I was just like, if you want to end your relationship with me, and so this is how it was stated, as if he's going to be as if the guy was emotional because he is going to get upset or be insecure if she goes and gets it from somewhere else. I said, let me tell y'all something. There's something called emasculation. And when you want to end a relationship, go do what you just said.
Right.
But then there were some women that are just like, hey, I should be able to do this. It shouldn't be a problem. It's, get over it, sir. You don't have the money. So if you had to speak towards the reason why you would say no, that you wouldn't do that, besides the fact you shouldn't be talking to the ex-boyfriend, besides that, right? To the hard-headed women that would just, I guess, don't understand emasculation and what it can do. I think that's something that I just wanted to touch on that.
Well, I would say too, flip it. Let him go ask his ex-girlfriend because you don't have it. And I'm just going to say that.
Right.
And let that sit with you.
Right.
And you would feel some kind of way.
Of course.
And so it becomes about, the ex relationship is ex for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
When you start relying on them for other things in your current relationship,
right,
it sets up the dynamic in your current relationship
mm-hmm.
as though you're looking for something outside of it. Now, granted, you might not have the money.
Right.
I need to find somebody else to get it from rather than my ex-boyfriend.
Right. That's what I was like, you don't have no other friends. You got a mama, daddy,
you ain't got a
brother, sister, somebody else.
Somebody.
That's what I said. But go ahead. You about to say something?
No, go ahead.
No, I want to rest here for a second because that tends to be an attribute for the Miss Independent, if you will, right?
Okay.
Of that strength. It entering into the relationship,
mm-hmm.
and sometimes through conversation
mm-hmm.
or actions, you leave a man without his testicles, if you will, right?
I got you.
And so, if you had to speak towards that, of giving some encouragement or some help for those that seems to be difficult for, what would that be?
Understanding that a man is a man, and at the end of the day, he always wants to feel like a man.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you do something that then takes away it takes away his manhood, like, getting money from an ex,
mm-hmm.
Doing those kinds of things, that's a recipe for,
I use that same word. The rest of said that's a recipe for the ending of your relationship.
Yes. A man wants you to feel like you can depend on him,
mm-hmm.
that he can take care of you. Granted, he may not always have the money to be able to do all the things that
right.
you may need from him. Right. But when you start looking for somebody else outside of the relationship to take care of it, truthfully, that's like asking a man or going behind a man's back mm-hmm. and asking even your parents.
Right.
First, consult your man.
Right.
And then have a conversation about, well, how do you think we can work through this? Because
right.
Boyfriend, one thing, husband for sure.
Absolutely.
So, talk about what your ideas are about. Because I can tell you right now, you say to the brother, hey, I was thinking about, asking Joe, my ex. Yeah.
Even the conversation, the fact that you would even bring it up is going to set me off.
Yeah.
But it
does not compute.
Yeah, it's like, why is this even an option?
Yeah.
You might as well say you're going to go sell some booty on the side to get the money. I mean, these certain conversations, we just automatically like, what? Who am I with?
Yeah. And that's helping provide for you financially is a man's space.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the same way a woman would feel
mm-hmm.
if a man went and asked some other woman, his ex, to fix him a meal. Because that's kind of like our domain, and
I agree.
I would equate it to that.
I
that
agree.
I take care of my man in
right.
that way. I make sure those needs are met. So for him to say, some women get upset when he talk about his mama making some food, like my mama, don't nobody make stuff like my mama.
Right.
So to me, I would kind of put it in that same, because it's like that part of the relationship that is kind of reserved for your man or for your woman.
What about the people, because I could hear this in my head, so I want to go ahead and say this now. Someone feeling like, okay, well, if he can't provide and you can, like, what are you supposed to do? Like, make him feel like he's a man when he's not providing or whatever, like create like an artificial space in there. I can hear that.
It would be different if your man just is busted and, he doesn't work, he doesn't try, any of those kinds of things. But it's different if, for whatever reason, at this point in time, he doesn't have it, whether it be a job loss or finances just tight. So to still respect him, because if you don't respect your man, that is the end of your relationship.
Can we echo that? I mean, but it's refreshing to hear that just proactively come from a woman. Because that is true. I will put it along the lines of that respect thing as well. Men being built in respect, women being built in love. And because some people will come along and think that, and I'm glad that you just organically said it, because it's almost like are you being fake? Trying to make him feel like he's a man, or trying to make him feel respected, or is that just a natural flow?
Just natural flow, I'm Christian. The word is the word, and it talks about a woman submitting to her husband. Now, I would say that a man needs to stand in a position that it makes it easy for a woman to submit, and so staying in a place of respect and being respectful, and exuding that confidence of a godly man. That helps even an independent woman like myself. I don't mind following. I don't mind submitting. But I need to know that you are doing what you're supposed to do, what God is calling me to do. So it makes it easy from my perspective, even though I am a woman who is independent in the regard of being able to care for myself. Right.
And I like how you space that part out about being able to care for yourself. And you're going straight down the line of that with that word submission there. I've heard along the lines of, okay, well, women don't have a problem submitting to the right man, or women don't mind, all women want to follow, whatever. And I don't believe that. Inherently, maybe, but the choice of words of right man or whatever, the statement normally goes down the line of, okay, well, he needs to lead. And so him leading, what happens, or how do you carry yourself if in those times when he did lead and he led wrong? And so does that affect how you respect him going forward? Is there like a certain amount of foul ups that he can make, or do you naturally remain in the space of, I'm just going to follow this person?
So still be submissive. However, that doesn't mean that you can't be supportive and provide some feedback. And how you say it to your man is important.
Right.
Babe, I know that this didn't work out. Encouraging him. But I'm here with you. What do you need from me to help support you so that we can move in the right direction with whatever it is that didn't work out with.
Right.
And so rather than chopping and tearing them down, cutting them off at the knees, how can you still maintain a level of submission yet show support?
So supporting and what you were just saying is one thing, right? But I want to speak towards those that perhaps, they might be with somebody who's kind of made a couple of foul ups, right? So the trustworthy coming from you to remain in that submission might be compromised, or is it? Or how do you navigate through that?
I mean, it certainly can be injured, but that's something that you talk about. You don't talk at, you don't just overlook, like you have real conversations, about those things. Like, this happened, and, whatever I'm feeling as that woman in that space needs to be shared.
Okay. That honesty.
Yeah.
That honesty.
Honestly, saying how whatever bad decision or whatever didn't work out, did we talk about it? Or did I just get annoyed or pissed, whatever, and I'm mad, and then I have this resentment in me that I never talked about, and then it just builds and builds, and that's how you get to a place where there is just this disrespect. And once you have no respect for your husband, your man, the relationship is over. I can say I've been there. I've been there.
No, that's very interesting because you have some people right now that might be in that space. Ooh, please rest here. Because I wanted to say this, so I'm glad I should keep going where I want to go. Once you don't respect your man, you need to leave him.
Absolutely.
You don't need to stay with him. You could love him. I mean, you could love him on, could be a great baby daddy, husband of your children. I mean, excuse me, father of your children, all that. But once you don't respect the man, I think I want to send to the hilltop, leave him. Yes. Because how you're going to talk to him, how you're going to trust him, how you're going to treat him, or walk with him, or lack thereof, is going to come out in all of your actions and all the things that you say.
Absolutely.
Ooh, that's important. I just want to rest here because I think that helps somebody.
Yeah.
But I think that's and some people are not honest with themselves enough to say, I don't respect this man anymore. If you had to, what are some signs that you would say that, because you said if you've been there before, what are some signs, some things that you've done to be like, to kind of send a signal of, hey, I don't respect you?
I just didn't really, I got to a point where I had no regard for him. You know, I didn't look out for him, if you will. Like, you know, we were just roommates. You know, I did all the things to make the house move and shake and do everything else I need to do, but it's just you know, even the, like, the energy, the love, that wasn't there. Yeah, all of that. Yeah. We just existed in the same space, but it's just kind of almost a level of just almost a contempt, you know, kind of like, you know, I don't know if you've had that feeling before with somebody where you just, the thought of them just kind of make you make this face.
But people just like that too. Oh my God. But people are still staying together. Yeah. Women are still going the long haul, just saying, you know, that it's for the family, whatever. But I think that something like that, even especially if children are involved, but children can feel and see that energy. Absolutely. Right? So that's even further. Some people might be thinking that they're staying together for the kids when you're actually causing more damage. And I didn't get a chance to say this, but your profession is?
I'm a therapist.
You're a licensed therapist, clinician. So this is what you do by day of talking to people who might have been raised in this environment, or they're currently, you know, an active participant in this environment. So you coming from a space of knowledge right now and research. Yes, and then
even my own experience. So actually, I can appreciate that I've had my own experiences because it translates when I'm in the room speaking with clients.
Right.
You know, I can say to them from a place of understanding. You know, I have been in that place, and you know, what are you going to do differently to move through that space that you're in?
So I want to make sure that we're clear here. So you would say to the ladies, if you're not respecting your man, you probably need to go. Is it something that can be, you know, because, you know.
I never tell anybody to leave their spouse, but I do engage in a dialogue. And I would ask, you know, if you don't respect your spouse, how do you think that impacts your relationship and even, you know, your family dynamic? How does that resonate with your children? Do you think that your children see that? You know, because the reality of it is that home is the first place we learn from.
Right.
And so we learn how to do relationships, good or bad, from watching our parents.
Right. And that sends another message of how parents need to be cognizant, because even if you are in this, is there help that someone can seek to get the respect back, or is, you know, there's a whole lot of prayer?
People have to acknowledge, there needs to be an acknowledgement that there's a problem in the relationship. Because oftentimes people don't really verbally acknowledge, other than, you know, fuss and cuss and carrying on, whatever. But two people making a decision, if they want to try to salvage their relationship, they both have self-work to do. And they also have to talk about what the issues are in their relationship.
Right.
And so, you a coach. You've been in a room with two people when it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's the word I'm going to use.
Yeah. You be like, ooh, y'all don't like each other.
Yes.
You be sitting there like,
if we don't like each other and we're parenting together, don't you think our children can tell that you don't like you don't like that daddy, or that you don't like that mom? And so,
and again, of course, you're not telling anybody, but it's kind of like either you seek third party and or understand that this might be beyond repair.
Right. And, you know, many people stay in relationship because of their children. Sometimes you have to terminate relationships because of your children, because otherwise you're teaching them to have the exact same kind of relationship in their future relationships. Because that's what they learn. We learn what we see. We learn what we live.
Right.
If we see parents, there are relationships where there's violence.
Right.
Children learn that violence is wrong.
Right.
Or there are relationships where people call each other out of their name.
Right. And you're going to carry that on.
Right. And children carry that on.
Right.
We live what we see.
Right. I think that and you know what? As a clinical therapist, what is the fallout when parents don't make that better decision of parenting and having that type of toxic environment, staying together for each other, right? Mm-hmm. What's some of the fallout that you might see for you these days?
I mean, you again, their children, their adult children might come to me as a patient, and they end up living the same exact life that their parents have lived.
Right.
The relationships, violence, calling each other out their names, not having a woman not having respect for a man because that's not what she saw. Right. Or it's a daughter. She gets married. She does the same thing she saw her mom do to her dad.
Right.
Castrate him.
Right. That's real.
So repeated cycles.
Right.
Family
generational
cycles.
curses.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. Cycles of behavior.
And I think that, and I've heard this almost 100% of the time, I've never really seen a child come back and say, thank you for staying together with all of that for me. Most of the time they come back and they're kind of like, y'all should have broke up, and the people who that I've spoken with, all of them, like they literally break down. And cause they're kind of like, oh my gosh, I thought I was doing the right thing. And again, there can be a rebuilding if you are in a very, if you're in that toxic situation, or I do feel like that there is an ability.
Absolutely, but it takes two people to make that decision and then do the work.
And then be consistent with that too. And I think that sometimes you have two people saying, oh yeah, we're going to stay together, we're going to work on this, and only one person is working, right. Or one person is working slower than the other, because you have two different people with two different brains, and they're not going to move at the same pace. Right. And if I'm faster paced and I see you moving slower, I'm taking that as offense. I do try to tell people sometimes ahead of time, hey, that this is the case. This is so you got to give each other grace.
Right.
You might be on 7, they might be on 3. Right. Eventually, you'll both be on 8 together, 9, 10, but you might run out there faster. You gotta give it some time.
And as long as you see both parties are actually putting in the work.
Right.
As a therapist, I see many times where you have that one person that's doing the work on a consistent basis, where the other person, every now and again, they'll do the work, and every now and again doesn't get it. And so
that's real. Every now and then might not get it.
It leads to frustration, and people, sometimes people are like, well, this coaching or this counseling stuff doesn't work. Yeah.
That is so true. Oh man. And I think that that's important to point out, because if you do have a challenge, maybe it's respect, or maybe it's something else, maybe it's emasculation, and you're seeking help, that woman is going to trip and do that again because it's become a habit, right? Or even the man might lay the trigger by accident. But that's an evolution. That's not something to where, as you hear that you castrating your man on Monday and on Tuesday you dope like that.
Right.
You're going to mess up Tuesday, Wednesday, get it right Thursday. I mean, am I wrong? Or?
Right. And it really, in order for change to happen, one must determine that they need to change, that there's a problem with whatever they're doing.
Okay.
Once I make a decision that what I'm doing is problematic,
right,
then I have to do something about it.
Right.
So I think about it, okay, then I take an action. And then I have to do that consistently in order for change to really occur.
Run that back.
And that concludes this episode of Understanding a Man. What amazing information and nuggets that was just dropped. Miss Independent, I just need you to pay attention just a little bit to some of the attributes that you can accidentally exude within your relationship and govern yourself accordingly. Again, this was spawned by my new game, Are We Ready Yet? And so you can find that at elambking.com. You can also go to arewereadyyetgame.com and click on the little button there, go on and make a purchase, and you will see that it will be something that will be not only entertaining for your relationship, but something that will also unpack some communication and some levels that you need to grow through. All right. We look forward to seeing you on the next Understanding a Man podcast. This is Elam B. King, and you can feel free to follow us on all platforms at Elam B. King, and of course go over to elambking.com.